Hello, everybody. It is your Professor Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with some more Age of Sigmar videos. In this class, we're going to be doing another office hours sessions, this time covering Stormcast Battleline as requested by one of our viewers. Thank you, Pink. You rock. Yeah, no, here we go. Yep, right into it. Don't forget to go and help the channel grow. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, share this video with your friends. You want to take them to class yourself and school them. And again, if you have other suggestions y'all want, really leave a comment. Say hi. We talk back. It's not a threat, it's a promise. And we're gonna go right here with the Liberators. This is gonna be a long one, so bear with me. All right, so Liberators are they're your basic battle line of yesteryear, and that they've been there the whole time. You know, they're your steady, always there for you, dependable. They kind of got a bit of a buff. It's weird because they combine the profiles. I know it's the you lost the +1 to hit, but if you were gonna tell me last edition or the edition before, hey man, Liberators can do mortal wounds now, I'm like, yeah. And in a Stormkeep army, they're good. You know, it's the measuring stick of which all battle lines used to be measured by. Was how do 100-ish points of Liberators work in comparison? You know, they're 10 wounds, a 4-up save, the shields can make it a 3-up, you get extra attacks with double weapons, you got all these options. You got all these options and they just streamlined it, you know, and that's okay. They're okay. For me, it's a side grade, you know, an upgrade is they got better, downgrade they got worse. You know, they're cheap. They do a little bit, and I'm okay with that. I like them in fives. You know, I'm not running like a 30-man whatever. But, you know, I don't think you need to unless you want to. And that's okay because that's a lot of what we're going to see in Stormcast is you can build the army you want because it's got all the war scrolls to do whatever flavor of whatever you like to eat at the ice cream parlor. You know, we got chocolate, vanilla, mint, rocky road, all 600 some odd flavors of Ben and Jerry's in this. And it's cool as an army. You can just focus on whatever. And Liberators they're your stock standard unit. Judicators. And I used to say they were just ranged Liberators. They instead of throwing their hammer, they shoot a bow or a crossbow. They went up in points, but they're not just ranged bad Liberators anymore. I know I just said how good Liberators were, but these dudes and gals, cool. I miss the how they used to have a rule against chaos before, but you know, mortal wounds on sixes to hit. They're bow snakes and stormcast that are a little bit more expensive. You know, and as a note for Daughters of Cain players, this is probably going to be around the price point bow snakes are going to go up to if they aren't already there at the time of this video. And that's okay, because they're still really good. And they're a battle line, you know, they don't feel like a tax where, like, you know, you have to take 3 units of battle line in a 2,000 point army. You're like, ugh, I guess I'll take 3 units of Liberators. No, you want units of Judicators. They're good now. You got a decent range, you know, they can benefit from the hero phase once per game shooting. Uh, the crossbows are okay too. It's funny. The mortal wounds aren't on the normal bow champions bow. I know I said that. Let me rephrase that. So the regular bows that the Liberators have that do the mortal wounds are great. The bow that you used to be able to give the champion or someone in the unit that could do D6 hits, they don't get the mortal wounds. Uh, yeah, normal bows all the way. And crossbows that have the exploding hits are great for clearing hordes. And when those come back in the meta, that's fine. Or you just shoot them down with mortal wounds. Again, you pick your flavor. Sequitors, the second edition flavor of the month, flavor of the edition. I've got probably 15 or 20 of them. Maybe a few more, but I've converted a bunch to be heroes and stuff because I like the aesthetic. I think they're great defensively. They've got a decent enough damage output. And like the Liberators gained a rend. The Sequitors gained a ward save in the combat phase, which is really nice. I miss the re-rolling hits, sure, and the re-rolling saves as they used to be. Now it could be exploding hits or the ward save. But you know what? Um, with the amount of Ren that's flying around, I think I'd take the ward save over rerolling my failed saves. Yeah, no, definitely taking the ward save. Yep, not even a question in my mind. And also now what's really cool is uh I got all these pictures off of Games Workshop website so no one sues me, but you see right here, this is the prime of the unit, this unit sergeant that has the not a great mace. It's like a spirit cache that stops units now from returning models to their unit, whether they're like demons or something, or they're like necromancy. You know, if you're close enough to the sequitur with that basically magic lantern, you can't refill your troops. And in second edition, time to keep looking at it because of how I have my camera set up. But in second edition, it was just like maybe do a mortal wound to like a Nighthaunt or a malignant. So now this actually has more use. And their generic battle line, which is great. It's awesome. I love it. They're a little pricey, but you're paying for that ward save, and again, it's good damage. You know, it's they're literally upgraded Liberators. I'm gonna again, everything's a Liberator. It's just whether they have a different weapon or a different robe. All right, and before it carried over. 2 out of the 5 can have the Great Mace, Great Maul, whatever you want to call it, special weapon. Then the unit leader, the Prime, could also have a hammer, a big special weapon on top of that. That's still there, but now you have a choice of whether, if you want to tailor it to your local meta to try and win an event, or you're tired of your friend stomping you with his demon army, and you're like, hey, I've got this model that hasn't seen the shelf or hasn't left the shelf in 4 years. Well, now you got a place for it. Vindictors, new kids on the block. They are honestly the best all around. Sequitors are more defensive than Liberators. Vindictors are more offensive. They come at a 3-up save though, so it's not the ward save. But what I like doing is bringing a Lord Castellan and a pack of 10 of them because they've got the reach to hit over each other with their spears. So I'll put the Castellan's Lantern on there for +1 to save. I'll throw a Mystic Shield on there. This is the unit I'm save stacking my stuff on. And if I'm playing a sub-faction that gives me a ward save, like Hammers of Sigmar, I'm loving life. Or if I'm doing Hallowed Knights, with the named Lord Castellan that I just got, I'm very excited about Guard of Steel Soul. Vindictors are my bread and butter now. Even if you're running them a bunch in 5s to get the 5-up ward save from him, then all of a sudden, through that hero, you do the math, you bring enough Vindictors, all of a sudden it's like you've got cheaper, more offensive Sequitors all around the board if you can keep that one hero alive, which is why I love them. So really, now Judicators are ranged Vindictors, not ranged Liberators. That's the tagline here. And they're good for what they do. And I really do like the hoplite aesthetic of the shield. It's not a hop-on round shield, but it still works enough for me for the shield wall come together. And the new armor's really cool. Vanquishers. These flowing robes are gorgeous. The armor, gorgeous. The great swords, gorgeous. There are a lot of attacks. They have a special ability that allows them to do the rally command at a 5-up instead of a 6-up. And, if you like the look of them, they're good. They're good for what they do. Again, they're a nice base battle line. If you could throw them a ward save from a hero or, say, Hammers to Sigmar being near an objective, they're your anvil now that also can do a bunch of decent attacks. Are they going to win you the game on their own? No. But they're going to at least pin something in place long enough. And then when there's like 3 of them left after all the fighting and they've won their fight, you bring models back on a 5-up on a rally. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. Next, we're going to go to the battle line ifs. Okay, we've got, if you are Knights Excelsior, the Storm host there, the sub-faction, you get access to Paladins as your battle line. That's all the Annihilators, Protectors, basically like the first edition Paladins that were the same body, whether they had a sword, no, it was a mace. I'll get maces. The Grand Hammer, the Executioner Axe, or the Glaives. And then the Annihilators we get now. What I like about this is, again, with that concept of the battle line tax, you just cut out that middleman by saying, yeah, I'm just going to be bringing like 8 units of annihilators and then a hero. Hopefully, I still have friends at the end of the game, and you're good. That's fine. Protectors are fantastic for what they do. Um, and Grandhammer's doing mortal wounds everywhere, great. The axes, again, getting extra attacks. They were a good horde clear before. Stormcast is one of those things where you can really go into a meta, and if you know what you're going to play against at a tournament, like what's popular by you, especially a lot of these one-day events, like, it's the 12 locals that come over from an hour away to go and try to win $40 of store credit. Like, Earl is gonna go and bring his zombie horde for Soulblight Grave Lords. Jessica's bringing, Archeon and the boys. And this is an army of Stormcast where you can be like, yeah, I own all this stuff. I'm gonna use it. Also, as a Stormcast player, what you got to look out for sometimes is, yeah, I own all this stuff and I want to use it. And then we get into some of these pitfalls where, now that we've saved 300 points for the no battle line because we're paladins, we've got these things where, bringing a big unit of like 10 of the glaives and then 2 units of the axes and a unit of the great hammers here. And you can do that now and not worry about how you flex. But you do have to be careful about going too hard against a certain army when you're playing this rock, paper, scissors game, because sometimes you're going to be, paper to rock. And other times the scissors are going to come around and get you. Vanguard Hunters. So this is if you're running an Astral Templars army. These guys used to be a normal battle line unit. They really did. They got buffed. They got a little bit extra range. The shooting's a little bit better. They've got a teleport now, like a true. It's on the table edge, but it's still nice with that Astral Compass. Again, it's more of a side grade here for me. They were never winning me games, but on the plus side, you get a box. They come in 10 in a box. You've got 2 battle line units, and you just take whatever else you want. They're good for what they do, but they're not the stars of the show. And that's okay. And if you're running Astral Templars because monsters are running everywhere and you're like, nope, I don't want to take a Heroes of the Heartland battalion to protect my good stuff. I'm taking the sub-faction that lets me just ignore all that. That's great while wearing Gur. And if this carries on to the other seasons of other things, that you ignore monstrous rampages, and honestly, I think they're probably going to keep them anyway. It's because they're cool. This is a great sub-faction. The unit's good. Now they're like the ranged Liberators, but faster. And they're priced nicely for what they do. And you really shouldn't discount a bunch of average shooting going at something, because if you roll enough dice in this age of the save stacking that we're in, you're going to want quantity over quality of shots. And this is a way to do it. Vanguard Paladors also coming at you from the Astral Templars. Fantastic true teleport with the Rise of Winds Etheric. The shooting is good. I do like the Javelin still over the hand axes because I do like them for a harassing unit. But they also now hold their own in combat with those axes, so you can't discredit that. It's one of those things where, again, it's you make your cookie cutter army to be, do you want to be rock, papers, or scissors for your fighting? They are a decent combat unit. They've got great mobility, and they've got good shooting, And it's a nice all-around unit that, honestly, I wish I had 2 more boxes of them, just because they're that nice for what they do. The models are cool. And it matches that chariot that just came out too with the Griff Chargers, and it's just nice, That's the thing. Like, Liberators are okay, but they're cheap, which makes them good. Like, if you need to fill in that 100-ish points, they're like 110, 115 off the top of my head. They're not 120. And you don't have a support hero you want. Having an extra unit for a screen is great. But what I like doing with Vanguard Paladors is they backboard for me. When I say that, I mean they're literally going to be in the back of my deployment zone in the corners because I can teleport them whenever to get them into a fight. So they are my moving screens, which is what I like using cavalry for as well, just in general. And they're like shadow stalkers that everyone used to call shadow stalkers in that regard, where you can set them up wherever. They cover a lot of distance, and they do good for you. Next are Prosecutors, which are battle line in the Tempest Lords, the shooty and the hammery versions. I own 3 of the hammers because I started my Stormcast journey as a path to glory, and I needed light cavalry that could be screens, and I love the 3d6 charge that they get, and they could take out a 100-point hero, you know. And also, I gave one of mine the Grand Axe, where back in the day it was a little horde clearer. Now it isn't, but we're looking at what we got here. Unleash Hell is everywhere that anyone has a shooting army because we never really left the shooting meta. Iron Jaws is working hard to change that, but we need a little bit more. So, same with Soulblight Gravelords. But as long as there's a Lumineth Realm Lords player around, or a Bow Snake player, or someone playing, 2 units of 15 Judicators that we talked about earlier, you're going to want to play Scions of the Storm, which is Stormcast where they deep strike in. Half the units, you put one unit on the table, the other one can go in the sky, and you do that up to half your units. You drop down Prosecutors 9 inches away, which is why I'm okay with hammers. Because I don't need their range shot, because I'd kill the one model that would make my charge go from like a 9-inch charge to an 11 because of however they placed it. You roll 3 dice, you get your 9-inch charge, you eat the Unleash Hell, and you move on with your life. If they die, they die. If they're on the table, they are a very mobile screen, and because they got a new rule about their coherency where they can be a little bit farther apart. It's really because their wings are such a pain on the table. They snap when they're in storage. But I love them. They take up a lot of space on the table and in my carrying case. Especially my carrying case. Did I mention my carrying case? I just watched SNL, so those jokes that go long and there's bits that keep going, but they're not really funny. My carrying case. And they do their job. The shooting ones shoot decently, and now I've got double hammers on the one that doesn't have the Grand Axe. And also a cool thing is you could very easily magnetize their base and then have it over like one of the bigger flying heroes bases. Like a little side step. You get like a magnet, and then you can like convert it. Like mine is the axe, but I have like a lantern looking like bell thing that I got from my bits box. That if I wanted to make it Knight Azeros, I don't run the unit, and then I've just got this guy on the bigger base going around like he's a headsman, looking to give +1 to hit to my Stormcast. So the model's good. As Prosecutors, they're good too. It's weird. They used to be the laughing stock of Stormcast, and now they're good for what they do. And in Tempest Lords, flying units, you get to re-roll dice on the charge. They've upgraded from flying Liberators. And seriously, I cannot stress enough the fact that they eat Unleash Hells for you, because they're probably going to make that charge out of Deep Strike when you have your unit that's 3 inches away from whatever you're trying to hit. That big block of 30 Sentinels or 15 bows. Great for it. I'm just underlining that point a little bit more. Vigilors! Also a new kid on the block unit. Their battle line, if your general, is the new Knight Judicator with the 2 Gryph-hounds. Who, as a side note, I like, because you get a unit of 2 Gryph-hounds for free that can run around and do stuff. And the Knight itself isn't a bad model. That's a beautiful model, but it's also not bad for the rules. The Vigilors give you the +1 to hit when they shoot stuff and it connects and they do a wound. So, a friend of mine and a friend of the channel, Jack from Rerolling Ones, says to always split your shots, and this is the unit to do it with because they've got a nice long range on their bows. you can plink a couple different units of a wound or two to give this buff and accidentally give your whole army +1 to hit against everything they got. And a lot of our stuff that I've talked about hits on 3s. And you can only spend 1 command point to issue 1 command onto one of your units to give them +1 to hit normally. So if this goes through, this is if you play 40k, the Tau Marker Light situation, where it affects your hit roll. This is it. And the capes are so flowy, and the robes, and I love everything about this. And they're also in the new fancy armor, along with the Annihilators, the Vanquishers, the Vindicators. There's a lot of V's this round here. So when they die, they blow up a little bit better because they get an extra dice to it. So, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't try to kill them in combat. Then we've got my dearly beloved Jacothian Guard. I will have everyone know, it's on the bottom of the slide, but I've played Fulminators for 2 years. I was laughed at. They said, "Oh, Rocco, there wasn't that much damage." You know what they did? They did steroids, and they bumped up the damage because they get extra attacks from their old profile. They lost their defensive stats, and I'll it's my channel. I can talk about what I want. They lost the rerolling ones to save on all of them that had shields. In the FAQ between editions, that got changed to ignoring rend. The Fulminators themselves used to have a +1 to save versus shooting. All that's gone. I had a dude unleash 60 shots with freaking Iron Drakes and did like 2 wounds because of how I rolled. Because I ended up being like a 2-up rerolling ones. It was stupid. And it worked. It was great. And I had it again where I was just a 2-up and I still only rolled like 4 ones. There's 6 wounds now. These Jacothian Guard. I love it. And as Hammers of Sigmar, they're your battle line, and you can love it too. I was going to bring it back there. Again, they're pricey for what they are. Fulminators are straight damage if you get to charge. The Desolators, again, get extra attacks. They're the ones with the axes. Fulminators have the glaives. The Concussors with the hammers do nice mortal wounds. The Dracoffs themselves have more consistent damage, being 2 damage apiece instead of maybe 1 damage, and maybe on a 6 wound you get d6 damage. The Ren's gone up across the board. I don't talk about the shooting ones. I just don't. There's also a build where you can bring like a unit of 4, like 1 unit of 4 of each type, and then a hero, and that's your army. And it kind of plays like how Gargants feel, because you've got like 4-ish units of just punch and thump, and they're all a 3-up save, and they're 6 wounds apiece, so they're chunky. They all do good, and if as Hammers of Sigmar, you got a ward save when you're near objectives. It's great. It's so fun. The models are nice. Some people say the mounts are a little derpy, but it's grown on me. I throw a bunch of the blood effect on it. And there's just so much thump and power in these units as a hammer unit, a really aggressive thing. But also, as a note, they have all this mortal wound shooting from the mounts, and the hand crossbow from the unit we don't talk about, which is still good. I think it's got exploding hits when you hit, which is nice. But anyway, the mount, it just does so much for you. And this is not my Living City build where, you can move and shoot and whatever. But in Stormcast, you get the ability to run and charge, to still set up some stuff. They still move good, especially for how heavy a cav that model's supposed to represent. And I don't... Let's be honest here. What's going to happen is people are going to learn about Fulminators. They're not from your neighborhood professor here that's going to teach you the nice way about them. Because let's be honest, compared to what they used to be, they're not as survivable. They hate mortal wound shooting coming at them, and they're only good on the charge. Sorry, they're only great on the charge. They're good stuck into stuff, the Fulminators. But that's when you'd rather be a Concussor or a Decimator. Not the other one. We don't talk about the other one. And we go on from there. Now, how I think about doing this, I like units of 2, so you don't got to worry about like battle shocks, and they're just so annoying, and people have to split their shots to try to get all the different units. But some people like running them in blocks of 4. Um, you don't really see a unit of like 6 Fulminators because that's a lot of points put into it. And that's a lot of the bad coherency until one model dies. And if they've got mortal wound shooting, you're like, yeah, kill my one model. It's okay. I'll live. Thank you for giving me the good coherency. Now all 5 of my models can get in instead of 4 of them. Um, is this going to be the next big thing? I don't know. Let's see what the next slide is. Holy cow, I finally found it. Took me so long to find an article with a picture of this dragon for the Storm Drake Guard. Looking back for when we were supposed to get them, but all the shipping delays because it's not like food. So they didn't get into the ports. They're just sitting there in a box, floating at sea, waiting to come home to me. Anyway, Storm Drake Guard, they're the dragons, the riders that everyone's scared about. Their battle line, if Draconith, the 2 named big fancy dragons, uh, a Star Drake, or a Knight Draconis is the general. The Star Drake being the Lord Castellan or the Drakesworn Templar. Celestin, Lord Celestin. Castellan's the axe guy. Don't mind me. I'm not cutting that out either. So what's great about this is the hero phase movement ability on them. And then if you, because you make a normal move in the hero phase, then if you're in charge range, you can charge. It's a way to get around Unleash Hells. It's a once per game thing. It's going to get you into whatever you want to kill, and then that gets you for your shooting phase there to shoot. And this shooting, so the Dracoff is on a 4-up unmodified, you do D3 mortal wounds. Here it's on a 1 or 2 nothing, 3 to 4, it does D3 mortal wounds, 5 or 6, it's D6 mortal wounds per dragon. And this you will see people running them in 4s. So 4 shots to try to fish for D6 mortal wounds per dragon. You're never gonna remember all the times it misses. It's just that one time in the game where they all hit for D6 hits and pop off. It's not reliable, but in the fact that it is swingy, when it does swing finally in your favor, that sucker is gonna hurt. And that's all your opponent is ever gonna think about. And they're gonna say, oh, dragons are OP. Well, you know what? 4 Fulminators, if they charge 4 Storm Drake Guard, are still going to kill the Storm Drake Guard. For combat, the dragons are really good. The riders, again, you need to charge with the lances. The swords are okay. But a lot of this, everyone being in a 3-up base save to start with, and then you just save stack on them to be a 2-up, ignoring a bunch of rend, you're really relying on that mortal wound bit and the fact that they can fly and that they can do a monstrous rampage and that they're all monsters, so they count as more models on objectives. Though, to be fair, that's still probably an FAQ-ish kind of question. Like, to me, I think of them as like the Man Crusher pack, where they're all monsters, they all count as whatever. A Man Crusher a Man Crusher counts as whatever compared to a Mega Gargant. There needs to be that kind of language to make that clear on the Storm Drake Guard. But, at least they count as 2 models per because they have so many wounds. But that's an argument to have in my comments to go and boost how many people see this video. So you guys have it there. And you gals. Follow me, camera guy. Oops All Dragons is a viable build. The Star Drake shooting is actually good. It's more of an anvil than a hammer unit. These guys can be both. And the new named dragons haven't seen the table yet at the time of this video because of everything that's happened. So I can't tell you. The combat one looks like a combat one, and the one that's a wizard also looks like it does combat. And they make this battle line unit really good. And if this is anvils of the Heldenhammer, as a friend of mine loves to point out, love you, bud. Their ability, which gets overlooked is that they can ignore the first 2 damage taken in melee. So effectively making the dragons, like one of the dragons, at least 11 wounds to chew through on probably a 2-up save. The thing is, because all this sounds scary, as the Stormcast player, I should be doing like an evil laugh while like, stroking a kitten, going, $1 billion, but we're in a world right now where people have to kill a Mega Gargant a turn in order to be competitive. That's 35 wounds on a 4-up save. Now, let's be honest here on the Stormdrake Guard. It's comparable enough that if your opponent can kill a Mega Gargant, they're gonna kill a 4-pack of Stormdrake Guard. So you have to use all the tools available to you, and like if you take the Nitroconus, you get a free hero face shooting with them, and they can move, charge, shoot, and do the whole bit. And you have to rely on that, but that's a once per game ability. Same with the once per game hero phase movement ability. So it will take some finesse. There's a lot of raw damage. There's a lot of good stats, but it is still going to be up to the pilot of the list to be how good or bad Stormdrake Guard are. And they are expensive, and everyone's freaking out so much online. They're probably going to be more expensive at the next points adjustment. So, take that into consideration. Like, what am I running myself? I'm not even touching Stormdrake Guard. But I know I'm running at least a 6-man unit of the Longstrike Raptors. I used to run 9 in 2nd edition, but now 6 is just a sweet spot. And my battle line, again, if I'm going like a Stormkeep, like I don't think I would do Stormdrake Guard in a Stormkeep list. I would do it as a Scions of the Storm where you can deep strike them in because, again, people are going to be looking to kill them. And, I like going Vindictors. I love my Sequitors. I even have a list using a Liberator unit just because they're a nice screen for what they do. And if you like the newer stuff, the Vanquishers, Vigilors, Vindictors, more power to you. If you want to go oops all Annihilators, that is a viable list. That does a lot of damage. You run into a little bit of a problem with holding objectives, but if you kill everything first, who cares? And, I also have an Astral Templars list that uses 2 units of the Paladors, 2 units of the Vanguard Hunters, 2 units of 3 of the Longstrike Raptors, some Aether Wings to buff them all, and a few support heroes. And that'll go toe-to-toe with the nastiest shooting list of anybody else. Just because of the nature of it. And I've got the movement and I've got the wounds. And that's the cool thing about Stormcast, just to bring this all together here. Our battle line units are what other factions dream about having their special and other units be. And we get this as battle line. We're spoiled for choices. So at the end of the day, I want you, dear student, to just pick whatever battle line you like the look of. His points are going to change. Stormdrake Guard are going to go up. They're going to go down. They're going to go left. They're going to go right. They're going to have rules adjustments. But that is a cool freaking dragon, all right? Now, and if you love the Paladors, play Paladors. If you like Prosecutors, probably find a bunch of Yggdrasil wings. Or, like, maybe, I don't know, you could probably get wings that are a little bit easier to use. Yeah, do that. But they're awesome for what they do. And also Stormdrake Guard, if you take them into, say, a Tempest Lords list, they got the rerolling charge thing too because they got wings and they fly. So, there are a lot of combos and there's a lot of tech in this Stormcast book that this is just our battle line. Forget all the other units that we got in there too and all the heroes. That's why a lot of our allegiance abilities and command traits and all that and our artifacts and spells and prayers, that got shrunk down because Stormcasts have the ability to be strong on the War Scroll. So we don't need the extra help. And our bench is deep enough. You're going to have fun playing whatever you want. And you're probably going to win your games too. Because, people are going to be scared for Stormdrake Guard lists. No one in their right mind is going to be thinking Jacothian Guard. Not these Tempesters. We don't talk about them. Vigilors with you could give, you could shoot 3 different units and have 3 units that you target with your army that have been taking wounds from Vigilors are +1 to be hit. That's, you shoot them first at the start of your shooting phase, then your shooting units get it, your combat units get it. All of a sudden, that's probably like 600 points of your opponent's army just dead because Vigilors were able to put up that +1 to hit with their long-range bows there. Prosecutors eating Unleash Hells and also just being these big annoying screens people can't deal with. You take up too much space. These Paladors for teleporting. Yeah, Paladors for teleporting. Vanguard Hunters for just being a bunch of shots and being annoying. Oops all Paladins for that raw damage output. And if you go with the Annihilators with the shields, they're still a 2-up save. The problem is that the wounds aren't that much that, they count as 3 models on a point. Take that as you will, but that's part of the balance of it. And Vanquishers are good in a scrap. And if you like greatswords, they're great for it. Vindictors are all around the best. Do they specialize in all the other stuff we talked about? No. But they've got a decent save and decent damage output, 2 attacks each, good reach. And they're great for save stacking on so they don't die. Sequitors are very defensive in combat. Judicators are great for shooting. Duh. And Liberators are just there because they're cheap. And with that, as I'm going to go and scroll through all of this, my final slide here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you for coming to class. Again, if you have any suggestions for topics for us to cover, drop them in the comments. Next week's video will be out at least on Tuesday. I'll be honest, maybe Wednesday, because I'll be coming back from Du Bois on Monday when our videos normally drop. And the next video should be going over the tournaments, because I'm in 2 tournaments. I'm in a 2v2 team tournament, and I am in the GT because spots opened up. And, I'll tell you how we do. I'm going to have fun seeing a bunch of people that I've met from ACO, that I've seen online, friends of mine from other Discords and communities I'm either in or run myself. And as I like to say at the end of all of our classes and videos here, class dismissed. Bye.